He texted me mid-date saying I was so easy to fool, then told the waiter I was just the nanny, and stuck me with their bill. So I followed her outside and handed her the love letter he wrote to me that morning. I swear my hands were still shaking when I pulled into the parking lot of the Olive Garden off Interstate 45 in Houston. I didn't even turn off the engine at first. I just sat there, staring at the glowing sign like it was some kind of punchline to the worst joke of my life. 5 minutes earlier, I'd gotten the text, the one he didn't mean to send to me. It popped up while I was folding laundry, totally normal afternoon stuff. The preview line showed his name, Drew, and then the words that made my stomach roll. She bought the perfume you wore last week. She's so easy to fool. At first my brain didn't even process it. I opened the message thinking maybe I misread. But no, there it was, clear, casual, almost bored sounding. Like tricking his new girlfriend into copying me was a game he played to pass the time. I didn't reply. I didn't breathe. I didn't even grab my shoes properly. I just shoved my feet into them and drove straight there because I knew exactly where he'd be. He always took women to that same damn restaurant. He took me there for our anniversary 2 months ago. I remember his hand on my back when we walked in. I remember thinking he looked at me like I actually mattered. I parked crooked in the fire lane and walked inside, already knowing what I'd see but still praying I was wrong. I wasn't. He was at a corner table, leaning in, smiling that stupid little smirk he always used when he wanted someone to feel small. And he was feeding her, literally feeding her with his fork. Same dish, same wine, same script, same performance he gave to me. She laughed like she believed every bit of it. Then he looked up and saw me. And instead of guilt or panic or even surprise, he gave me this tiny nod, like he'd been expecting the moment I finally found out, like it didn't matter. "Well," he said, wiping his mouth like this was casual, "now you know." I stared at him. The girl looked confused, glancing between us. And before I could even speak, he waved the waiter over and said, "Don't worry about her, she's just the nanny." Just the nanny. After 4 years together. After everything I'd done for him. After the nights I stayed up helping with his work projects, the holidays I spent with his family, the trips I paid for. Just the nanny. And then, because humiliation wasn't enough, he handed the check to me and told the waiter I'd take care of it. He stood up, pressed a kiss to the girl's cheek, and said over his shoulder, "You should really learn your place." Then he walked out. But she didn't leave with him right away. She stayed back for a minute, gathering her purse, clearly rattled but not understanding the full picture. She finally rushed out after him, probably trying to catch up. I could have let her go. I probably should have, but my hands moved on their own. I grabbed something from my bag, something I wasn't supposed to have, something I never meant to use, a letter. His letter. The one he wrote to. I walked outside after her and tapped her shoulder. She turned around, eyes wide. "I think you should read this," I said, holding out the envelope with her name on it. And that's when everything really started to fall apart. If you'd asked me 6 months ago what my life looked like, I would have told you it was finally settling into something stable. Not perfect, not glamorous, just steady. After years of crappy jobs and worse relationships, I thought I'd finally landed with a man who didn't make me feel like an afterthought. I met Drew at a friend's backyard cookout in Spring, Texas. He was charming in that quiet, attentive way that makes you think you can actually relax around someone. He asked real questions. He remembered little details. He listened. Or at least, he pretended to. At the time, I couldn't tell the difference. We fell into something fast. Fast enough that my best friend warned me to slow down. Fast enough that I ignored all the tiny red flags, like the way he talked about his exes like they were unstable, or how he always had an excuse for why he couldn't post me on his socials yet. "Work stuff," he'd say. "Privacy. Not everyone needs to know my business." I swallowed it all. 4 years of swallowing things builds a tolerance you don't even notice you're forming. I worked 2 jobs. Mornings at a dental office in the Woodlands and evenings doing freelance copywriting from home. He said he admired my drive. He said he loved that I didn't depend on anyone. I didn't realize that was code for "I'm never lifting a finger for you." Still, I clung to the good moments. The anniversaries, the day trips to Galveston, the night he cooked for me while swearing he'd learned the recipe just to impress me, the time he told me he'd never felt this safe with someone before. He knew exactly how to say things that stuck to my ribs, and then there were the signs I brushed off. He'd disappear for hours, running errands. He'd get defensive when I asked simple questions. He'd have sudden emergencies at work that meant canceling our plans last minute. He'd come home smelling like perfume and claim he walked past someone in a store. He'd keep his phone face down constantly, like it was reflex. But he always apologized just enough. He always had a story ready. He always turned my doubts into guilt. I realized later he'd been testing boundaries from the start. Then came the letter. I wasn't supposed to find it. Actually, that's not true. I wasn't supposed to find it yet. It was tucked in his nightstand drawer, under a stack of receipts he never threw away. I had been looking for a charger, that's all, just a phone charger. Instead, I found an envelope with another woman's name written on the front, Maya. At first, I thought maybe it was from his past, something old, something irrelevant, but it didn't look old. It was crisp, clean, fresh ink. And my stomach dropped before I even opened it. I read it once, then twice. Then I folded it back exactly how I found it because I couldn't even process the words. I didn't confront him. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Something in me knew I needed to wait, to see the full picture before I reacted, so I pretended nothing was wrong. 2 weeks later, I got that accidental text, the one meant for her. And when I saw her in the restaurant, laughing and eating the exact meal he used to feed me, I knew the letter wasn't just some old mistake. It was part of something bigger, something worse. So when she walked out the restaurant door, I finally made a choice I should have made months earlier. I followed her. She was halfway across the parking lot when I caught up to her. The air was thick and warm. Houston evenings always feel like wet blankets, and she turned around fast, like she thought I was about to start a fight. Honestly, I wasn't sure I wasn't. Her eyes were this sharp hazel color, the kind that scan your face for clues. She clutched her purse against her chest like a shield. "What do you want?" she asked, voice tight. I didn't blame her. If I were in her shoes, and some woman stormed into my date and got humiliated by the guy I thought I was seeing, I'd be wary too. "I'm not here to scream at you," I said, breath shaking. "I'm here because you deserve to know who you're actually dating." That made her blink. Then her shoulders dropped a little. She wasn't stupid. She'd clearly picked up on something inside. I handed her the envelope. Her name was right on the front, in his neat handwriting. She stared at it like it might explode. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "In his nightstand, 2 weeks ago." She looked away, pressing her lips together. "He told me you were his nanny." I let out a dry, humorless laugh. "I'm his girlfriend, or I guess I was." Something flickered across her face, anger, embarrassment, maybe both. She opened the envelope, slid out the letter, and started reading. I watched her expression change second by second. Her jaw tightened. Her eyebrows pulled together. Her breathing got shallow. I'd read it twice myself, but seeing someone else absorb those words in real time made me feel sick all over again. When she finished, she folded it back up with slow, shaking hands. "Is this real?" she whispered. "Yeah," I said. "It's real," she swallowed hard. "He told me you two broke up months ago, said you were unstable, said you wouldn't leave him alone. He said you tried to ruin his last relationship too." I felt my stomach flip. That was his pattern. Paint every woman before the next one as crazy, obsessive, broken. He recycled lies like he recycled dates and compliments. "I wish I could say I'm surprised," I said quietly. She nodded, wiping at her eyes with the back of her hand. "I should have known. My sister warned me. She said something felt off." There was a heaviness between us, two strangers with matching wounds. And then she said something I didn't expect. "He told me he loved me," she whispered. "Yesterday." I stared at her. Yesterday, he'd also been in my bed. Something in me cracked then, not a sob, not rage, but this deep, hollow thud. The sound of a realization I hadn't been ready to face. This wasn't just cheating. This wasn't just lying. This was a pattern, a routine, a system he created and perfected. She tucked the letter back into the envelope like she wanted to set it on fire but needed to hold it a little longer. "What do we do?" she asked suddenly. I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But the anger in my chest was starting to form a shape. "We don't let him get away with it," I said. She looked at me, really looked at me, and nodded like she'd just made up her mind about something important. But right before we could say anything else, her phone buzzed. She looked down and her whole face drained of color. "It's him," she whispered. "He wants me to meet him somewhere." Then she showed me the screen. And that's when everything started to escalate in a way I didn't see coming. The message on her phone wasn't some weak apology or a panicked confession. It was an address. A hotel. The kind with indoor waterfalls in the lobby and rooms that smelled like fake luxury. He'd sent her, "Meet me in 20 mins, need to explain, don't bring her." Her, meaning me, like I was some stray dog sniffing around his trash. But it was the second message, the one that popped up while she was still staring at the screen, that turned my blood cold. "I left something for you in the room. You'll understand once you see it." I felt the hair on my arms rise. She looked at me, confused and scared. "What is that supposed to mean?" I didn't know, but I knew the tone. It was the same tone he used the night he told me he had a surprise after our anniversary dinner. The same tone he used when he wanted to control the narrative, steer the emotional direction, corner someone into a reaction he could later twist. Maya shoved her phone in her purse. "I'm going. I need to hear what he has to say." "No," I said immediately. "You don't go alone." She hesitated. "Why, you think he's dangerous?" I didn't answer at first. Because the truth was ugly, I didn't know any more. But it wasn't until we reached her car that something clicked. I don't know why I thought of it right then. Maybe adrenaline, maybe intuition. But I remembered something he'd said months earlier, during an argument when he was drunk and sloppy. He'd mumbled, "Women always end up doing what I want anyway. They're predictable." Predictable. Like he believed he was running a script. We drove separately to the hotel but parked side by side. The building loomed over us, tall enough to feel like it was watching. She walked ahead of me, tighter posture, determined but shaking. Inside, the lobby was painfully bright. A couple of businessmen sat at a bar. A family checked in. No one suspected a thing. She went straight to the elevators, pressed the button. 12th floor. When we reached the room, she paused with the keycard in her hand. "Are you ready?" she asked. No, but I nodded anyway. She slid the card. The little green light blinked. The door clicked open. The room was quiet, dimly lit, perfectly staged. And right away, something felt wrong. Too neat, too arranged. Then I saw it. On the table in the center of the room was a stack of printed photos. Of me, not recent ones from years ago, before I even knew him. Photos taken from my old social media pages, jobs, random events, a picture of me at a gas station where I didn't remember anyone being close. Each one had a note scribbled across the bottom, like he was labeling exhibits in a case. "Too trusting, easily manipulated. She falls fast. She forgives anything. She thinks she's smarter than she is. She won't leave unless pushed." My throat closed up. Maya picked one up with trembling fingers. "What the hell is this?" I didn't have an answer. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might pass out. But then I noticed something else, another envelope sitting under the stack. This one had my name on it. I reached for it with numb fingers and slid out the letter. It was shorter than hers. Blunt. Cold in a way I'd never imagined he could be. And the first line almost dropped me to my knees. "By the time you read this, she'll finally see what you really are." He had planned this. Planned for us both to be here. Planned for her to find the photos. Planned for me to read that letter. This wasn't a mistake. This was a setup. And we had walked straight into it. I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was on the edge of the hotel bed, gripping the letter so hard it crumpled in my hand. Maya paced in a tight circle near the window, her breathing sharp, her eyes darting like she was trying to figure out where the trapdoor was. Because that's exactly what the room felt like, a trap he'd been building for months. I read the rest of the letter slowly, each line colder than the one before. "You always needed someone to blame. Now she'll see that you followed us here, snooped through my things, and tried to ruin what we have. When she finds this room, she'll know you're obsessed. Predictable, just like I said." Predictable. There was that word again. At the bottom, he'd signed it with his full name, like it was some official statement. Like he wanted the handwriting to be proof later. I finally looked at Maya. "He planned this. He wanted you to find this. He wanted you to think I'm stalking him." She shook her head, pacing faster. "I don't, this is insane. Why would someone do all this?" Because he enjoyed control. Because he liked having a villain to point at whenever he wanted sympathy. Because lying was too easy for him, so he needed a bigger thrill. But I didn't say any of that. Not yet. Instead, I stood up and grabbed the stack of photos, flipping through them. Some had timestamps printed in the bottom corner, screenshots he'd clearly taken years later, saved for this moment, for this room, for this setup. Maya sank onto the chair and held her face in her hands. I feel sick. I feel stupid. You're not stupid, I said. He's calculated. He's been doing this longer than either of us realized. She lifted her head, eyes red. We have to do something. We can't let him spin this. Not after this. That's when the shift happened in me. The shaking stopped. The fear drained out. Something colder took its place, clarity. He thinks he's in control, I said slowly. He thinks he's already written the story. He wants you to run to him in panic and ask him to explain everything. And he wants me to look unhinged. Maya nodded. So what do we do instead? We write a different ending. We sat together on that hotel room floor like two people who'd been dropped into a crime scene. Because in a way, that's exactly what it was. A psychological crime scene he had created with precision. I laid out the photos. She opened her own letter. We compared handwriting, dates, details. The more we pieced together, the more something became painfully obvious. He had been grooming both of us for this moment, keeping us in separate storylines, feeding each of us just enough information to keep us leaning toward him and away from each other. He didn't just want to cheat, he wanted control, power, the kind that required an enemy, and we were both assigned the same role. We need evidence, Maya said suddenly. Hard evidence. Not just letters that he'll claim you faked. I nodded. We get proof. We get his pattern, we get his history, we get his lies on record, and then we burn his entire web down. Her eyes hardened. Together, I said. Because that was the one outcome he hadn't planned for, us choosing each other instead of him. And right then, like the universe wanted to underline that point, her phone buzzed again. A new message from him, this one even worse. And when she showed it to me, I knew the next twist was coming, whether we were ready or not. The moment her phone buzzed, both of us froze. Maya didn't open it right away. She just stared at the screen like she already knew. The message was going to rearrange something inside her. When she finally swiped it open, her whole face changed. Not scared, not confused, destroyed. She handed me the phone with her hand trembling. The message was short. I told her everything. She'll confirm it if you need proof. I warned you she'd try to break us up again. I frowned. Who's her? Maya took a shaky breath, eyes fixed on the floor. My sister. My stomach dropped hard enough to make me dizzy. Her sister, the one who had warned her. The one Maya said didn't trust him. The one who supposedly saw right through him. She would never believe him, I said. Right. But Maya didn't answer. She just kept staring, jaw tight. And then her phone buzzed again. A second message, but this one wasn't from him. It was from her sister. Maya turned the screen toward me, him. I know she's been telling you things about me. We should clear it up. My sister. I'm with him now, and he's right. She's not stable. Please don't do anything stupid. I felt the world tilt. Your sister is with him, I asked, shock hitting me like a physical slap. Maya's eyes filled instantly. He sent her the same kind of pictures, didn't he? Or letters, or whatever the hell he gave me. He turned her against me. No, I said slowly, the truth rising and choking me. This didn't start tonight. She finally looked up at me, waiting. He's been playing you and your sister off each other for a long time. This wasn't random. This wasn't desperate lying. This was planned. Fully. Maya gripped the edge of the desk like she needed something solid to keep her upright. But she hates him, Maya said. She always told me she didn't trust him. I hesitated, because the answer was obvious, horrifying, and very, very real. He wanted to control both of you, I said quietly. So he made you each think the other was the problem. Maya shook her head. No, she's not stupid. She would never fall for. Her phone lit up again. A picture message. It was him and her sister together, smiling. In the exact same booth from the restaurant we'd left less than an hour earlier. There was no confusion anymore. No doubt. This wasn't a spontaneous betrayal. This was a long game. Maya sank onto the carpet, hands over her mouth, sobbing in these broken, uneven gasps that hit me in the chest. I sat beside her, feeling my own pulse hammering against my ribs. That's when she whispered, "This isn't cheating. This isn't lying. This is something else." And that was the moment I realized something I hadn't let myself consider before. Drew wasn't just manipulating women he dated. He was constructing entire narratives, telling different versions of the same story to different people, pitting them against each other, rewriting events, planting evidence, breaking trust intentionally. This wasn't a man trying to juggle relationships. This was a man trying to own them. Maya wiped her eyes hard. We need to stop him. We need to expose everything. Him, my sister, whatever the hell they're hiding. They're hiding something, I agreed, and he's proud of it. Proud enough to think we'd never compare notes. Maya stood up, shaking but determined. He thinks we're predictable. A slow, cold calm spread through me. That word again. Well, I said, grabbing my bag and the stack of photos, then let's show him what it looks like when we stop playing our parts. But before we left the room, something caught my eye. A hotel notepad on the dresser, with a single sentence written across it in his handwriting. She was never supposed to see you. I stared at it. Maya stared at me, and I knew exactly who she meant, and exactly how deep his cruelty went. For a long moment, we just stared at that notepad like it was radioactive. One line, one sentence, one truth that changed everything. She was never supposed to see you. Maya picked it up with 2 fingers, as if touching it might infect her. What does that even mean? Who is she? But I knew, and I hated that I knew. It's your sister, I said quietly. He didn't want her to meet me, ever. Why? Maya asked. Why would he even care? Because this wasn't about romance. Or sex, or even cheating. This was about control. And finally, I could see the entire shape of his plan. You're not the first, I said, my voice flat. And I wasn't the first either. He picks women who love loyalty. Women who don't quit easily. Women who give people the benefit of the doubt. Maya swallowed, her eyes locked on mine. He tests boundaries in small ways first, I continued. He isolates you emotionally, not physically, so it never looks obvious. He builds a narrative about a crazy ex or a jealous friend. He tells you you're different, special, better. Maya nodded slowly. He told me all of that. And then, I said, he introduces a rival. Her breath hitched. He wants 2 women orbiting him, one he can play the victim with, one he can play the savior with, and the moment one of them starts asking questions or pulling away, he replaces her, Maya whispered. Exactly, I said, but not before using her to manipulate the next one. Maya looked sick. So I was, what, training wheels for someone else, and my sister. She was supposed to see you as unstable, I said. Not me, not the truth, you. I watched it sink in, slow and brutal. Her sister wasn't just involved by accident. Her sister wasn't just manipulated. She had been chosen, handpicked as the next stage in his cycle, because she already had tension with Maya, because she already doubted him and could be flipped with the right lies, because sibling rivalry is emotional dynamite in the hands of someone skilled at lighting fuses. He wanted her dependence, I said. He wanted her trust more than yours. Because taking someone from their own family is the biggest power play of all. Maya's face twisted in pain. He made her think I was the abuser. He made both of us think we were the problem. And then I told her the part I hadn't said out loud yet, the part that chilled even me to admit. He started with me 4 years ago, I said. But I wasn't the first either. He had 2 girlfriends before me who both mysteriously lost their minds and wouldn't let him go. One moved cities. One disappeared off social media. I thought it was weird, but I didn't question it. Maya covered her mouth. He ruins people. He collects people, I corrected. And then he breaks them into roles he can use for the next story he wants to tell. The silence between us grew heavy, almost suffocating. Then Maya whispered, "Why us? Why go this far?" I answered with the same cold clarity that had been building since the moment I walked into that restaurant. Because he likes watching women tear each other apart. Because he gets off on controlling the narrative. Because every woman he dates becomes an alibi for the lie he tells the next. And because he never expected any of us to talk to each other. Maya's jaw clenched. He wanted me to hate you. And he wanted your sister to hate you more. Maya closed her eyes, one slow blink that wasn't tired, but resolved. He thinks he's safe because he plays us against each other, she said. Then let's break the pattern, I replied. And right then I felt it, this cold, steady fire growing inside me. We finally understood the reason behind his cruelty. And now we knew exactly where to aim. We didn't leave the hotel room right away. We sat there, me on the bed, Maya on the carpet, like 2 people who had just crawled out of a collapsed building and were trying to get their bearings. But something had changed. The shaking was gone. The panic was gone. All that was left was clarity. And a very specific kind of anger. He built this whole thing assuming we'd never compare notes, Maya said quietly. He's only powerful in the dark, I replied. So we drag everything into the light. The plan came together piece by piece, messy at first, then sharp, then precise. Not emotional, not impulsive, calculated, exactly what he never expected from us. Step 1. Collect evidence. We took photos of everything in that room, the stack of pictures, the letters, the notes in his handwriting, the timestamps, the layout of the table. Maya forwarded every message he sent her, every voicemail, every screenshot of the times he warned her about me. I did the same from my phone. We even recorded a video of the entire room, narrating what each piece meant and how it fit into the pattern he built. We backed up everything twice, one on a cloud folder, one on a USB drive. Step 2. The call. Maya called her sister, and she put it on speaker. Her sister answered sounding smug, rehearsed, almost soft in that gross, practiced way people sound when they think they know the truth. Maya, you need to stop letting her manipulate you, but Maya didn't let her finish. She hit play on the video we'd recorded. Her sister went silent, completely silent. When the video ended, Maya said, "If you defend him after this, I'll know it's not because you believe him, it's because you want to." And then she hung up. No screaming, no begging, no explanations, just truth. Step 3. The confrontation. We didn't go to him, we made him come to us. Maya texted him a single line, "Room 1208, now." He showed up in under 10 minutes. He strolled in like a man walking onto a stage he built himself. That same smirk, that same arrogance in his posture. But he didn't see the USB drive sitting on the table, or the second phone recording, or the cold steadiness in both of us. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. "Sit." He froze just for a second, but then he did it. Because control only works when someone believes they still have it. Maya tossed the stack of photos onto the bed. "Explain." He didn't flinch, didn't look confused, didn't deny. He just leaned back like he had been waiting for this moment. And then he said, "You were both supposed to give up by now." Not sorry, not mistaken, not caught. Just annoyed. He started talking like we were inconveniences, not people. Like all of this was some elaborate hobby he never expected to get messy. He said things that made my skin crawl about patterns and predictability and how women reveal themselves if you push the right buttons. He said it with pride, and we got every word on video. Every single word. When he finished, Maya smiled. It wasn't warm, it wasn't kind. "That's all I needed," she said. "We're done here." He didn't understand at first. He started to stand up like he expected one of us to cry or beg or break down. Instead, I held up my phone. "Your job, your family, your friends, your exes, every single person you've ever lied to will have this by morning." His face finally cracked. Maya added, "And if you ever contact me, her, or my sister again, the full video goes to the police." Psychological coercion, harassment, stalking patterns, you think they won't listen. Try us. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked small. Then we walked past him and left him standing alone in that room he built for our destruction. The fallout? Swift. By noon the next day, 3 exes had replied to the video with their own stories. His sister blocked him. His boss put him on leave. His reputation, built on lies, manipulation, and carefully orchestrated roles, collapsed in under 6 hours. He tried calling once, then twice, then he stopped. And for the first time in 4 years, my phone stayed silent. Closure, it wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, it was simple. Maya and I met for coffee a week later. We weren't friends before this, but trauma has a way of turning strangers into allies. We sat quietly for a moment, both breathing cleaner air for the first time in a long time. She looked at me and said, "I feel stupid for falling for him." I shook my head. "We didn't fall for him, we fell for who he pretended to be." She nodded. "Still feels like we won." "We did," I said. "Because he built a story about us, and we rewrote the ending."